say. So I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day out there. I can tell you, you young folks out there, all a father ever wants to do is know that you're proud of them, and hopefully you are. There's a mixed bunch. Some people have terrible fathers. Some people have great ones. I had a really great one. My dad believed in me. Always told me, he said, "Son, you got the world by the tail." It didn't matter that, my dad would be on and off. He worked in aircraft, but he was a good dad, and, some young people, or just any people, they get sometimes worked up. The kid, regrets that maybe they didn't make their dad more proud before their dad passed. But I can tell you, your dad is already proud of you. But what the thing, and I tell this to anybody that's got an ill father or an ill parent, is all a parent wants to know before they, go to the grave is that they did a good job, or that you at least maybe recognize them for doing the best job that they could do. So I tell you right now, let your father know you're proud of him if you are, and it'll mean a lot to him. And if something were to happen, if he was to pass suddenly, you won't have that regret that you didn't get to tell him that. So, the other thing about Father's Day I want to talk about is that you guys look at, since I quit doing the webinars, I stopped doing the webinars for like the last 2 months, and I've made about $450,000 in that time. And because I concentrate a little more on real estate, instead of concentrating on my students' deals, I've been concentrating on my own. My students have made over $10 million, considerably more, maybe twice that, but for sure 10. I always try to, under promise and over deliver, and that would be the case too when I'm telling you about what they've made. They've made more than that. But there's not a better thing that you can do than to pass on how to make money to your kids, but you got to learn it firsthand in order to be able to pass that talent on. And being a mentor, and since I wrote the book, and and then started doing the mentorship by request, it's been very, very gratifying and rewarding. And I see a lot of young men, and young to me is 40, right? 40 to me is a kid now. I've been around a while, and so it's nice to be able to fill in as that rich dad, right? Because everybody should have a rich dad. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I never read the book, to be honest, and I'm not a huge fan of Robert Kiyosaki, but I know he made a good book, because people tell me they read his book and they read mine to make money, and his for just kind of common sense saving, I guess. But you guys can comment on that if you would. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But I do hear that quite a bit. But the bottom line is, it's good to have a sensible person tell you to save, don't squander your money, don't waste it. But it's really important to have somebody that can help guide you and tell you what to do. Have somebody that it's like critical support, right? When something goes wrong, usually everybody calls on Dad, right? And I'll read these comments when I get parked. I'm actually heading to my girlfriend's house, and I had a great day, by the way, this morning. My kids took me to breakfast, and my grandson. So it was kind of neat. It was a first-time father, a milestone for my son-in-law, or say my son-in-law. Anyways, so that was fun, and. But I tell you, life is really good, and even when I made $6 an hour, when I was a kid, life was good then. But I had good sensibilities. I saved my money. I didn't squander it, but I did spend money on ways like I ate out probably almost every meal. I really didn't, but it was because I was eating on the run, and I was always working. And laundry, I've almost never done my laundry my whole life, and I don't come from money. Nobody did laundry for the family, but me and my dad would actually drive and go to the laundromat together. Me and my dad drive to the laundromat and do our laundry all at once, and then we'd drive back to the trailer park where I lived in Space 15 in Golden Sands Trailer Park, which is now probably one of the worst dumps you can imagine. In fact, in Lancaster, California, which is now neck and neck. It even surpasses Compton now in crime. That's where I came from, folks. And but I'll tell you a funny story real quick here, and I'm just, this is just sharing. Me and my dad, we had a 66 Ford pickup that we would drive, or my dad would drive. I was too young. And, so we're driving, we're coming back from the laundromat. My dad never drank at all. I mean, he drank one beer with me one time, and he was almost drunk from the one beer. But anyways, we're driving back from the laundromat, and this got a big old steering wheel on this Ford, and it's a lot of play. You're constantly correcting just to stay inside the lanes. Well, my dad's worried about the laundry blowing out, so he's like looking out the back, and he kind of swerves a little bit. Well, a cop sees it, and so cop pulls us over and says, "Okay, they've been drinking." He says, "Oh no, sir," and so he has my dad stand on one foot and touch his nose, and says, "Okay, go ahead and give me the alphabet backwards." And my dad just absolutely couldn't do the alphabet backwards. And it's funny, I'm nervous or whatever. My dad was actually a very, very smart guy. He had a lot of knowledge on a lot of stuff. He didn't know how to make money. He had a job, and he had sensibilities to buy his first house. That was probably 15 when my dad bought his first house. And we went from the trailer park into a nice little house in a little middle class area, and it was a big accomplishment. It was pretty cool, and but anyways, like I said, even if you don't know how to make money, certainly encourage your sons and daughters, and tell them that they can do anything, that they can make it happen. Let them know they got the world by the tail, as my dad would say, and just let them know, because they do. It's the truth. They do. I had a grandfather. It was quite negative. Everything he did seemed to turn to shit, and he wasn't a very happy man. Just about everything he ever bought and sold, he sold it at the wrong time. And I wasn't particularly close to my grandfather, but he was a little bit of a negative guy in general, so I knew that just from what little I did see of him. But, you can't let your negativity spread to your kids. Your story isn't necessarily going to be theirs. And, and so like I said, my dad he just saw all the bright things, he would just see all the best. And I urge you to do the same. I try to do the same. I try to be as good a dad to my kids as my dad was. And I would just encourage you to do the same. And likewise, kids, listen, life is short, and don't squander these early years. These early years are critical for making money and doing the right thing and saving your money. I get kids, as kids, like I say, a kid is 40 to me, but I get people in here, that when they fill out the mentorship survey, I'll talk to them about life and whatever. And, some of them save a couple $100,000. Somebody really young, maybe 21, 22, they save 20, 30,000. They're still got money from when they, their paper route and such things. That's the kind of discipline I look for in a student, and that, for me to say, okay, you're in. But again, I don't let anybody in my class that hasn't saved. If you can't afford to pay cash for my class, and still have a little bit of money to invest, you're not suitable at this time. You got to get a skill and figure it out. And I'll still give you the best pointers I can, but there's a lot of fake gurus out there that'll tell you, listen, just borrow it from your mom, borrow it from your dad. This is the, and a lot of these fake gurus, they can't even teach, and they don't. They stay in very safe subject areas. They don't like to take questions. I go live all the time. I got no fear, because I've been there, I've done that. But the ones that haven't don't do that. They don't want it. They don't want questions. In fact, they'll filibuster the time to burn it up on a stupid subject. But so I would just tell you, have good sensibilities. Understand that, just because a guy's got gray hair, doesn't mean you can trust him. They're not your dad. They're not your grandpa. There's guys that have been robbing and stealing, and from people, swindling people from the time they're young to the time they're old. And just because they got gray hair doesn't mean they're particularly trustworthy. It doesn't come with age. So anyhow, that's all. I just want to share some thoughts with you. But number one, just want to wish everybody happy Father's Day, and like I said, give a nod to your dad and your kids. Let your kids know. Like I say, don't let your tough times, interfere with their future. So that's it. I'll let you go. Let's see. I'll take a quick question there. I heard Rich Dad Poor Dad was written by a ghostwriter. They probably had some help. Listen, even when I wrote my book, Ralph, if you're out there, I wrote my book, and I hired a guy that worked he couldn't write it for me, but he made it grammatically correct, and he smoothed out the rough stuff. Like I say, I dropped out of high school, and I wasn't a particularly good student, and I've always been able to do math well and read well, but grammatically, and now AI does everything for you. So it's an interesting time we live, and I can tell you from the very beginning, when I started, the big technologies when I was a kid was marine radios, then pagers, then fax machines, and now here we are. CDs are a thing of the past. Even chips. It's like they put everything on the cloud now. So, anyways, I'll cut it there. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.